Welcome to Spiritual Basics Podcast with April and Jen, a bi-monthly podcast designed to teach the searchers, seekers, and spiritually curious the basics of metaphysics and New Thought. They're all about the basics, but they are not basic bitches. Now, here are your hosts, April Daly and Jen Merkel.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for Spiritual Basics Podcast with April and Jen. My name is Jen Merkel. I'm a transformational life coach and certified hypnosis practitioner. You can schedule a reading with me or a free consultation at jenmerkelhypnosis.com.
And I'm April Darley. I'm an emotional strength and confidence coach, and you can learn all about what I do and schedule a free consultation at aprildarley.com.
So, April, it's been a while since we've chatted. How is it going?
It's going pretty good. So for the last couple of months, I'm not sure if our listeners know this, I've been working part-time behind the scenes to build an entirely new website. And I'm doing that myself, which is, I think I've been working on it since February, and it's almost ready to launch. I've gone back and forth on a couple of things, so I've stalled myself and analysis paralysis. But this most recent eclipse, this lunar eclipse that we had in May, instead of shaking things up for me, really solidified. It's like I woke up one day with all this clarity. It's like, I need to do this, this, and this. So I'm hoping that I can launch that. If I really stay on the ball and be on track, I think I might even be able to launch it next week. So before this episode drops live, I may actually have my new website.
That's exciting. I can't wait to see it. Yeah, I know you got some really cool stuff going on, making some big changes and good changes, and should be really exciting.
It is. It's going to be new color palette, new title, new services, new direction and pathway. So all the new things, I'm loving it. I'm excited for it.
That's cool.
And what's going on in Gen World?
I don't really have a lot going on, just being annoyed as hell by all the spam text messages I've been getting. So I was having a lot of Robo Calls, like it was insane. I was so annoyed. And so I actually decided to pony up and buy RoboKiller. It's an app that'll automatically, so it's funny because it'll screen your calls for you. But if it's a known spammer, you can have a recording, like spoof it, like make it sound like they're actually talking to somebody. They have one that's actually Jon Snow from Game of Thrones. They have like all different celebrities, or they have like just weird stuff, or there's like a bullhorn, like all kinds of crazy things that you can do. Or it can be professional message like, you have been detected as spam. We are reporting you to the authorities, a bunch of different things. So that's kind of fun. Actually my spam calls have definitely stopped, but now I'm getting texts. I'm getting, I swear, 20 spam texts a day.
Wow.
And the funny thing is, like, my carrier will send me a note saying spam detected. It's like, okay, well, don't even send me that. I don't even want to see that. Right. But like about 25% of them, they actually get through their spams, and I can block and report spam, but I still have that message. I feel like I'm like, I can't do that. And because so RoboKiller does have a feature on iPhones that you can, get the spam emails off, but they don't have it for Android yet. So I'm like, dang, I really wish, so that's just been annoying the heck out of me lately. And
bet
with Mercury retrograde right now, at time of recording, it's Mercury retrograde. I think it ends right before this episode drops, but it's just been awful, just awful.
Oh no.
It's so frustrating. Like, I'm stressed out about it. Like, it stresses me out. I hate this.
Yeah, it takes your attention. I mean, if you're working and you get that chime for a text message, it pulls you out of what you're doing.
Right. Because really, I mean, I get texts from clients, but more often I'll get texts from like my kids or, my sisters or my mom or somebody. And I want to see what that is, or you.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's so annoying. I even meditated and I felt good. And then I got a text message and they went right back to that place. Just so awful. So, I just I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to solve the problem.
Yeah,
So
I actually don't have that one. I rarely get spam texts, but I probably get about 3 to 5 robocalls per day. And
Mhm.
I think I'm like you. I think I would prefer the robocalls over the text. If
Yeah,
I mean, I'd rather not have either, but
right.
had to pick my
Right.
poison. I think I'd stick with the robocalls.
Yeah, it's annoying. So yeah, just hoping that, and it's been a lot lately. Like it's,
Hmm.
like a month ago I didn't have as many. So I don't know. It's irritating. But
Well,
what
the
can you do?
good news for you is our guest we have today can recommend something to relax you and
That's
take
true.
all that irritation right out of the body. We've got Shannon Price from Erthy Bruja talking about spiritual bathing today. I'm super excited.
Yeah, it is fantastic. She is such a lovely person, and it's going to be a really good show. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Yes. Well, let's quit chatting and get to it.
So, welcome, Shannon. Thank you so much for joining us at Spiritual
Thank
Basics
you.
Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I am so honored to be here. And forgive me if I stumble or fumble a little bit because I'm kind of new with this, but I'm teachable and coachable, so I'm willing. Okay.
Well, we think you're awesome. That's why you're here.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Well, I'm super excited to have you here. And I really wanted to have you on the show for a couple of reasons. The first one is I met you at Metroplex Holistic Fair back in 2019. They sat us next to each other, and I thought your story was so cool. So I was like, we have to have her as a guest. And second, at the beginning of this year, Pinterest, if you're a Pinterest content creator, they send you Pinterest trends to watch for 2021. And spiritual bathing was on there. And I feel like spiritual bathing isn't talked about a lot in the spiritual community, like crystals and the moon stuff. So I was like, okay, if Pinterest is saying spiritual bathing is a trend, I got my girl, Shannon Price from Erthy Bruja. We got the hookup, so we have to have her on the show. So thank you so much for being on the show with us.
Yes. Thank you.
And so tell us, where did you even get the name Erthy Bruja? Like, what does that mean? Where is it?
Okay. I'm going to answer that question, but first, as a person who loves her some Pinterest, I missed that.
What?
And what rock was I under that I missed that?
Of all
I have
people.
got to fix my life.
We were under the
Yes.
huge crushing weight of 2020 is probably what happened.
You're probably right. You're probably right. Well, let me tell you how the name Erthy Bruja came around. And let me first of all say, if anyone feels some kind of way by the name Bruja, because I am not of Latin descent, to my knowledge, I've never done the DNA, but I was raised African-American. And so I don't want to come across as someone who's culture appropriation or anything of that nature. So if I offend anyone, it's unintentional and I apologize up front. The name was given to me by my sister. Obviously, she's my sister, therefore she's also not of Latin descent. But we had these back and forth text messages every morning. And she texts me, Grand Rising, beloved, Grand Rising, Queen, or one of these, beautiful phrases and such. So this particular time she texts me, she says, Grand Rising, Erthy Bruja. And when she did that, I began to bawl. I was just weeping because the name felt like home.
Right.
And prior to that, I had been searching for a way to identify myself on social media doing tarot readings because that's something I had just started to do. I didn't have a store or anything like that. I was just doing, daily readings as a form of practice for myself and just to kind of get my feet wet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was looking for an identifier, a brand name. And so anyone that knows me knows when spring rolls around, you will find me in my backyard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm digging in the dirt. I'm mowing the lawn. I'm edging. I'm, planting. I'm moving plants around. All the things that require the backyard to look like an oasis. I'm out there doing it. And so my sister at the time was working at a salon and doing manicures and pedicures. And so I went to get a pedicure right from the garden. Didn't hose my feet off or anything. And I stay barefoot when I'm outside. So she's like, Shannon, really? You couldn't even wash your feet? I said, I was coming to get a pedicure. What's the point? She said, but you couldn't even get the mud out of your toes before.
Right. That's a green witch right there for you, right?
And so just the idea of me, and so this earthiness, this, okay with being outside, okay with the bugs. And they tease me because I don't, like just before tonight, I was, packing to go on this trip, and but there's a fair in Hot Springs. And so I'm packing my camper. Well, there was a nice fluffy black spider crawling on the wall. Old me would have took a shoe to it and smashed it.
Right.
This me goes and says, you can't stay here. I go all up in the cabinet. I pull out a bowl, I pull out a plate, and I capture it, take it outside, put it in the garden.
Right.
And they tease me about that because they all, just kill it. No, it has a right to live.
Yeah.
I'm not going to kill it. So then I believe in we are who we are before we receive our titles, before we get a name or a label. And so I was Erthy long before someone called me Erthy.
Yes.
The Bruja portion of it was a softer blow for those in our community to accept the word witch.
Right.
Because, and I say our community, meaning my sister and I's immediate circle community, not the community as a whole. But it softened the blow for them to receive that title and not go, oh, what do you mean you're a witch?
Right.
Because half of them don't even speak Spanish, so they don't know what the word Bruja was.
Right.
And so that's how the name came about. And it just fits like a glove, and I'm grateful for it.
Awesome. Now the spelling is a little unique. So Erthy is missing the A. So what happened to the A?
And that's exactly what I asked her. I said, did you mean to spell it that way? She says, yes, it's unique, just like you.
Aw, love that. Fantastic.
And so through my tears and wiping my runny nose, I accepted it. I received it. And so Erthy Bruja was born.
I love it.
Yeah.
So you told me this story when I first met you about how you got guided to create these products. So can you share that with our listeners?
So as I mentioned a moment ago, I was doing this tarot thing, right? And so I was thinking, if anything at a psychic fair, I would go and do it as a reader, as an intuitive reader. And so I had just recently stopped working at a shop in Garland, and shout out to them. They're amazing. But so I was, trying to find out where I was going to show up at, but I hadn't really done anything with that. And that's the first time I ever went to a fair was December this prior year. So fast forward to New Year, it's, some early morning, first 2 weeks of January, I wake up out of bed, that in between sleep, not quite wake moment where if you're over 40, it's time to go to the bathroom.
Right?
Yeah, that moment.
Yes.
And so I'm stretching, and I hear, as plain as I'm talking to you now, you're going to sell spiritual baths at the psychic fair. And I look up in the city and I say, what? Can I go pee first? I just woke up. Can you let me hit the floor? Because my feet are still in the bed. You set up and you haven't turned to get out the bed. I'm sitting up in the middle of the bed, feet still under the covers, with a huge desire to go to the bathroom. And Spirit was very plain. Says, no, send the emails. Emails to who, Spirit? Google it, Shannon. Google DFW psychic fairs. I'm like, now? Yes, now. This is a dialogue. Me and God, the creator, universe, higher self, whatever is having. And so I reach over and get my laptop, boot it up, do the Google search. And I'm like, but what do I even say? And as I'm questioning and doubting, I'm being given the information. Hello, my name is Shannon.
Right.
And I did have a name. I was Erthy Bruja by this time. I says, I am Erthy Bruja from, on, I think it was, I said on IG, something of that nature. I'm interested in being a vendor at your fair. But I need more information, right? And so I did a nice, very professional salutations and all, and sent it to maybe a half a dozen or more different local hosts. And so I left it. I was like, okay. Meanwhile, before I did all this emailing, I had this dialogue with Spirit going, I don't have any recipes. I don't have anything. At this point, I'm just doing spiritual bathing for myself. It wasn't called anything. It didn't have it wasn't a preset intention. My personal goal was to love me more and to heal my womb space, to heal my body, because I was coming off really heavy neurological sickness that no one could explain. To summarize it, I was having seizures daily.
Wow. Okay.
And was on a cocktail of drugs that were making it even more worse, in my opinion. Anyway, I was tired of that. And so I was on the mend from that. I had made a decision that I wasn't going to be sick anymore. A brief update, not update, but a brief kind of who I am. I'm raised as a preacher's kid. I'm a Baptist minister's daughter. Okay. Sunday service, Wednesday Bible study, mission meeting, all those things are my natural state of being growing up. But in the church, I learned that I could speak a thing as though it is. I could tell a mountain to move. These are all the studies that I learned. And so I was determined to be well. I was determined to be healed. And so I just spoke it and started moving accordingly and slowly quit taking the drugs. By the way, this is a little note. Shannon did not tell you to quit taking your prescription drugs. Do not go do not go to your doctor and say, well, a lady on the thing told me that. No,
right.
I am not a medical professional.
Right.
Okay. I'm sharing you what I did and what worked for me.
Right.
Everything isn't for everybody. So eat the fish, spit out the bones. Okay. But anyway, so that was January. I sent the emails out, had no plan, had no grimoire or anything of that nature to pull together these spiritual baths. And I got an email that says, hi, this is so-and-so from so-and-so. I'm very interested in seeing your product. Can you send me some pictures?
Oh, no. Wah, wah, wah.
And I'm like, see, I told you. Talking to Spirit.
Right.
Time to get the camera out.
Spirit was like, you are a photographer. Did you forget that? Did you forget you know how to take pictures? And I'm like, no, I didn't forget, but I'm just saying, well, take your time and pull together some product and take the pictures. So I sit down with my Virgo mind and make a whole laundry list of all the things I need to make this happen. And that was in January. Early February, I got that call. I was at the fair that first April. And I went there with the 4 intentions that I started out with, which were love, abundance, alignment, and grounding. Abundance has now since been changed to prosperity, but it started out as abundance. In those 4, I had the spiritual bath salts, the sugar scrubs, the anointing oils. And at that time, I was dressing candles as opposed to making my own. And so I had these 7-day killer candles that I would melt down the paraffin, re-pour it, dress it. It was a whole thing. That didn't last about 30 days because I won't keep doing that.
Right.
So I took the candles completely off the table.
Right.
And until something else came around, and I slowly started getting back into doing the candles. Started out with the tea lights, and then I started pouring my own. So yeah, we're now up to 8 preset intentions. So we've gone from those four originals that I mentioned, and now we have enlightened, release, as well as divine feminine and divine masculine.
So it's really interesting. I love that story. I'd never heard it before. It's amazing. And it brings up a point that I've heard some of the sources that I listen to, and my go-to sources, someone had brought up how what heals you, like what you use to heal yourself, is what your calling is to use to help others to heal. And I know April and I both have the similar story where what has been healing us, we now use to help others, as our healing modalities. So it's just another great example of that.
It sounds also that your guides are just as snarky as mine. So, I mean, I was like, oh, yeah, I've had those conversations with my guides. She's got snarky ones like I do.
Yeah. They are definitely full of personality.
Yeah, it's so interesting. You had slipped in that little part about being a Virgo there. It doesn't surprise me at all, since that's an earth sign. So
yes.
I that was one of the questions we were going to ask you, is what your sun sign is. And obviously it's the earth sign of Virgo. So not surprising there at all. Do you happen to know what your moon sign and rising sign are by chance?
Moon sign is a Libra, rising is a Leo.
What? Same as me. I have the same moon and sun and rising.
I am a Leo rising as well. So
3 Leo rising.
in the house.
And I'm a Libra
women
moon.
Hear us roar.
Yes.
You're my moon sister, girl.
Twoo.
Yay. Yay.
Wow, that's awesome. Very cool.
And I am very much infatuated with all things moon. I love the moon. I love the different phases of the moon. And even before this leg of my journey, night gazing at the sky has always brought me comfort. I've always felt home doing that. So to come to this space and this, this spiritual experience and into witchcraft, it just like a natural transition.
Right.
Yeah.
So what is spiritual bathing? Why should we do it? What are the benefits of it?
The way I interpret it and the way I share the understandings to others, especially if you were raised in the church, most of us, not all of us, were baptized at some point And that the way the pastor always said, this is an outward expression of an inward change, right? And so this water connection with spirituality is not foreign, So whether it be dunking a whole body, washing of feet, if you're familiar with Primitive Baptist Church, that is 3 greats back, is a founder of that denomination of church. Like I say, I'm a preacher's kid going way back. So preaching and Christianity is really deep into my family. So just understanding that water as a tool for spiritual cleansing has been practiced for eons, right? You can find this practice in all cultures in some form or fashion.
Yes.
How many times have we seen in the movies, especially the Western movies, and that's been Hollywood and dramatized, but even they got this part right, where you have a beautiful Native woman taking a bath in the river or a stream. And it was, and when you see this image of her, she's not just washing for cleanliness. You can see she's communing with nature. She's singing most times. She's just really enjoying the experience, as opposed to how we do now. The alarm clock goes off. We hit the floor running, turn the shower on, hop in, get wet, shampoo, condition, rinse, and get out, And
so missing out when you do that. So missing out on the good stuff. Yeah.
And so the spiritual bath is a deliberate bath where you spend time in prayer and or meditation, focused on manifested outcome that you desire. And, people hear manifest, they usually think about something material. I employ people, invite them to consider manifesting something that is of substance that feeds your soul, feeds your heart. The physical things, the money, the cars, the houses, those things will show up because they're just in a vibrational connection. But when you are talking about healing your heart space, healing childhood traumas, healing, even traumas that aren't necessarily yours, they're just yours by DNA. They're like your great grandmother's trauma, your great grandfather's trauma.
Right.
The water gives you an opportunity to commune with your ancestors, your spirit guides in a more intimate way. Because when you're in the water, especially when you're submerged in the water, the way I do, this is what I offer people I suggest to them to at least cover your crown in the water, like get down to the water where the top of your head is covered. You can keep your face out if you don't want to, hold your breath, but up to you, cover your ears and over your head, the water, you're submerged, quote unquote, fully submerged. There's a level of vulnerability there. And in many cases, it will take you back to being in the womb.
Sure. Because that makes sense.
You have this water sound, you're submerged in this water, with the exception of your face and your mouth. So something just happens. Something happens in the water when you've set the intention to have said experience.
So you mentioned having them submerged. So walk me through this process. If I were going to come up and I'm buying one of your products, how would you tell me to use it? Like, what should I do?
So first thing I'll say is, okay, once you've decided which intention you want to work with, by the way, you can mix and match. Okay. You're not locked into one particular intention, but starting off, just pick one, right? And if you don't have a clue what to go with, I oftentimes ask people to go with love.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I have enough love. Well, we're not talking about your baby daddy and your baby mom. No. Love in the most unconditional, the most organic vibration possible. If you, again, my language most times is going to be churchy because I grew up there. So the idea, the lesson, the way we were taught that God is love. And I say God when I mean a title, not a personification. So understanding that love in the most truest form, the most organic, the most unconditional is our natural state. And to get back to that place where we move in the flow of love, where we interact in the flow of love, that is the place I'm inviting folks to find their way back to.
Yes. And it's not necessarily just about manifesting love from others. What about manifesting love for yourself and appreciating yourself and loving yourself for who you are? And also finding love for others. That's another way to manifest love as well. Finding forgiveness for others and moving forward and finding unconditional love for others too. So love isn't necessarily just about, manifesting your next boyfriend or something like that.
Right. And so that's the first discussion that we'll have at the table when they come asking about, okay, what's a spiritual bath and what do I do? It's an education about, because most times they'll say, well, I don't want anything to do with love. It's to educate them about what love really is. Mm-hmm. And then I will invite them to, some people say, I don't have a bathtub. Well, okay, well, we offer the same thing, either in a bath salt, a sugar scrub, or a cleansing bar, which is your favorite modality. So once I get past that, well, I don't take baths, pushback, then I can say, now all you have to do is set the stage, so to speak. Me being earthy, I love the 4 elements. I'll ask them to light a candle. It can be a simple white candle. That's going to be your fire, an incense and or something that has sound that's soothing. That's going to be your air. The salts are obviously your earth. And then the water is the water. Mm-hmm. So now you got all 4 elements in place. And now from this point, call in whatever spiritual modality you use. If it's prayer, if it's meditation, if it's Christ, if it's Buddha, whomever, it does not matter to me, because the practice is the practice. Then I often tell people to sit and journal, write it down, because when you can put it on paper, you can now hold it in your hand. So now this idea, this feeling, this thing is now tangible for you to hold it in your hand. So now, okay, you got your stage set, you've already done your writing, you come into your bathroom and speak over if you're using the tub, speak over the water, pray over it, meditate over it, declare over it, whatever, again, to open your mouth and put what it is you want out into the atmosphere. And then get in the water and allow yourself to move naturally. Do what comes. If you do exactly as I say, do it, and it's uncomfortable, it's not natural, it's not going to work for you. Mm-hmm. You have to do what feels comfortable for you in the bath. And if dunking your body completely under the water is not for you, it's okay. You don't have to. Mm-hmm. I'll invite you to, if you're in the tub, to pat your chest, bring the water up to your chest. And it's kind of like this rhythmic water drumming against your chest. That is awesome. Mm-hmm. And it kind of gets the water moving. And when I say that, I think about the scripture of the pool of Bethesda, when the angel comes and troubles the water, and tells them, when the angel comes trouble the water, get in and you'll be healed. Mm-hmm. So however you feel, you as in the person using it feels called to work with it, then do so. And that's kind of my offering to anyone who comes to the table, has how to use the spiritual bath. And if they don't want to use the salt, so they don't have a bathtub, use a bar and follow up with the sugar scrub. Because with the scrub, you can mentally see yourself scrubbing away the things you want to get rid of.
Yeah, I don't love to soak, but I love a scrub. So that would be my choice.
A cleansing bar and a sugar scrub will do wonders.
How often should you do a spiritual bath? And is there like a best time to do it? Not good time to do it, as far as, timing and all that?
This is a question I get very often. And I have recently started saying, how often do you wash your butt? Because this is the thing, making the mundane magical. If you have to go through all these chutes and ladders and hoops and squares and all these things to get it together, then you're more than likely not going to do it regularly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can find a way to etch it into your lifestyle, into your schedule where it's a regular practice, then it becomes something that is more meaningful to you. But initially, when I started this, I was new moon, full moon. Okay. That was my initial practice. But the more I began to do this work, the more I began to be involved with other souls, I realized keeping my own spiritual body clean was required. And so that wasn't enough. And so now, every time I take a bath, shower, in the tub, or, if I'm going there to wash myself, it becomes a spiritual bath. So for instance, if I get in the shower and I do my hygienic cleanse, right? Now I can turn to my cleansing bar. I can speak over my cleansing bar, asking, declaring what it is I want to receive, experience, release, whatever the situation may be. I wash my body in soap. I rinse. I use a sugar scrub, again, speaking over what I have in my hand, what I'm asking for, what I'm declaring, what I'm expecting. And I scrub myself down. I rinse off and I get out. That's a spiritual shower. Mm-hmm. That's every time I get in. That's not just, on the full moon and the new moon, because reality is about the moon. Like I say, I love the moon. She's forever changing. We just happen to all show up for those 2 major days, new moon and full moon. Mm-hmm. But she's always up there changing.
So is there anything that is contraindicated with a spiritual bath that you should not do, or anything that you always want to make sure that you do?
So here's what I say to everybody with skin. Do your own due diligence. Know what you can and cannot use. Pregnant women have a whole laundry list of herbs, of essential oils that they cannot use. Well, my products are laced with essential oils. I personally, like I mentioned before, am not a medical professional. So I can't tell you, you can't use this oil because you're pregnant, or you can't use this oil because you have seizures or whatever. Beloved, you have to do your homework and know what you're doing, because when it comes to holistic approach, we have to be very responsible for our own actions and how we show up, because what works for one person might not work for another, or what affects one person negatively or adversely might not do the same for another person. So for someone, well, no, you shouldn't do that because it broke me out, or it made me feel kind of way. Well, that may be that person's experience. It doesn't have to be yours. So I will tell everybody, I don't care if it's an aspirin, I don't, make sure it works for you.
Right.
And if you are under the care of a physician, ask questions. Say, I'm interested in purchasing this product. Here are the things that are listed in it. Do you see anything that the reason why I can't?
So in a lot of witchcraft, some people who are into a lot of the steps and the rituals, they like to do spiritual bathing before spell work, right?
Yes.
But so what are some of your favorite go-to ingredients for a spiritual bath, or what are some things that people can incorporate into a spiritual bath?
Most of these things you can find in your kitchen cabinet. Rosemary is a master herb and can be used in place of anything that you don't have. If a spell has some fancy herb that's, rare and can't be found at your local Kroger's or A&P.
Yeah. Well, it kills me when they say belladonna, or, it's like nobody has belladonna lying around, right?
Really?
Most of us don't, right? So yeah, rosemary is one of my favorites.
So you take rosemary and you ask her for those characteristics that you're looking for in, a herb that you don't have. So you can put rosemary into the spiritual bath. The basic spiritual bath is going to have Epsom salt, sea salt. I like pink Himalayan salt. I like to add good old-fashioned Florida water. And then just those 4 alone will get you where you're going. The herbs and the essential oils are boosters. And in my opinion, these are boosters, and they add more character to the bath. But once you've added those initial 4, and if it's not Florida water, maybe it's a holy water, maybe it's some moon water, some type of a consecrated water to add to your bath. Then you get in and you do your thing, you do your meditation, your prayer, and you have your experience. But another one that's a go-to is rose, which is what I started with. The love that I offer is the bath that I was doing for myself before, minus the milk, because I made it a milk bath. So it has a powdered milk in it. A powdered goat's milk now. It used to be powdered with regular cow's milk. Now it's powdered goat's milk. Love goat's milk, by the way. All of the soaps have been switched over to goat's milk too. Just makes the skin feel so luscious.
Yeah, it's great. Mm-hmm.
At any rate, so rose is an amazing companion, because rose, also we know it for love, right? Everyone knows the red rose is for love, but rose is also very protective. You ever met a rose thorn? They offer both love and protection. And so then if you want to get really creative, you can get into pulling in certain colors as well. And it can get very layered, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're looking to cut away some negative energy or some negative experience, slice a lemon or some lemon juice. Not a lot, because we ain't trying to pickle you or cause you some irritation, but enough lemon juice that it's there, right? Because the water's going to dilute whatever you put in there. You got a whole tub full of water or a shower, you're okay. But the idea that the citrus of the lemon is going to cut away that negative vibration. Think about that. Every time you smell a lemon, it's just like, hello, it perks you up. So those are 3 things that I would say, if you're just starting and you want to do your own, do that. And I tell everyone that comes to the table at the fairs, if you don't ever buy a spiritual bath from me, that is okay, but please take a spiritual bath.
Right. So I want to circle back and address some of your ingredients. So why the different versions of salt altogether. So the crystalline matrix of salt is amazing because it absorbs negativity and clears negativity. So why are you combining a couple of different versions of salt, like Epsom, Himalayan,
sea salt?
So here's my uneducated reasoning behind doing it. Because let me tell you this, many times when I'm crafting, I'll get this word to go get a certain thing or a certain herb, and I won't even know what the hell it is. And then when I get through using it, when I get through using it, I'll go and look it up, and it's like, oh, well, that's why you had me use that.
Yeah.
So Epsom salt is known to remove inflammation. It's known to ease and relax the body. So physically in the water with Epsom salt, you're going to let your guard down. You're going to be more open and receptive, right? Because you're not all tensed up and balled up. The Himalayan salt, that energy that you get when you work with a Himalayan salt lamp, how it just makes you feel so calm and relaxed. And the vibration that it gives off is so, it's not quite mothering, but it's kind of mothering. It's very nurturing and calm and relaxed. And so I wanted to have, now, again, when I pulled it together, it was just given instructions from spirit. But when I go back and look at it, it makes sense because I want that encapsulation, that wrapping around, that hug, that good old Southern, come here, baby, let me give you a hug, kind of a hug is happening with the Himalayan salt. And then the sea salt, because have you ever gone to the beach and had a pimple when you got there and left and your skin was crystal clear?
Yeah.
So something about the salt of the sea that really does wash away all the impurities.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
It just, you go to the ocean and, you know, you come away, the sand has made your feet feel like baby's butt because you got a whole walking pedicure. And then you go into the ocean water and the salt in the water just really purifies you, cleanses you. And that whole thing of connecting with Mother Earth's water and the water that's within us. So the three of them together just made a perfect trinity.
I love it. And then why the holy water or Florida water?
Florida water is a cultural thing. Many of the African spirituality practices will use Florida water. Florida water is a men's cologne or aftershave, but it could be used and put in plain sight and no one would know what it was. You really wasn't going around collecting holy water back in the day. It was at the church and that was pretty much it. And so they could use this cologne that into their spiritual practices without being seen or being out in the open with their practice. It was very much private and secretive practice. And so as a nod to my heritage, as a nod to those who came before me, it made sense for me to use Florida water. I love, like I mentioned before, I love the moon. So if I don't have any Florida water, I will use moon water.
I was just going to ask about that. Yeah, moon water would be perfect.
And so I will use moon water in my bath. All of my products take a moon water bath. Everything that I craft before I bring it to the public. One of the ways I consecrate it, other than charging with crystals, I'll charge it with moon water to give that energy of the moon to it. I just love to work with the energy of the moon.
Love it.
So I do want to add too, because I do this all the time. I'll talk about spiritual baths and all of the things that goes on. And I forget to say, by the way, I do offer readings.
Right. And you
do intuitive tarot and past life readings. And so you can find those as well. I also do facilitated spiritual baths. What that means is I'll come to you, set up the space in your bathroom. We'll do a tarot reading prior or after, whichever spirit leads. We'll do the bath. Now, here's the thing with the do the bath, air quotes here. I am not bathing you. Repeat that again. I am not bathing you. Okay. Each client is asked to undress to his or her comfortability. Completely nude is fine. Shirt and shorts is fine, whichever you're comfortable with. And then we will take a journey, which is a guided meditation, as well as the bath and all of that goes along with the bath. And they don't necessarily have to submerge in that case, because I'm not going to be responsible for you not drowning. So you will sit in the bath and we will pour waters over your head. I say we because it's me and spirit doing the work. So yeah, I do that. I do. And that is a whole experience.
You know, one thing I know about you, I know a lot of spiritual people, but you're one of the most spiritual people I know. And you just have this wonderful, loving spirit, and it just comes so naturally for you. And it's just such a joy to talk to you, even just at a show. It's hard to get away. It's like, gosh, I got to get to my booth, but I just want to talk to you forever because you are you're such a dear. I mean, it's just wonderful. If someone wants to get in touch with you to learn more about you or Spiritual Best or investigate your products, what is the best way to reach out to you, Shannon?
So the fastest way to reach out to me is through erthybruja.com. That is our online store, erthybruja.com.
And that's Erthy without the A. So ERTHYBRUJA. And by the way, I'll put the link in the description so people will be able to just click right on it.
Yes. And if you're, a social media person and you move around on these different social sites, Instagram is where I tend to hang out. So you can find me there at Erthy Bruja, spelled the same way. Matter of fact, all the platforms, if you do Erthy Bruja, you'll find me there. I am pretty well branded at all the websites. I mean, the different social medias as the same name.
Fantastic. And then I know you also do some of the local shows. What are some of the shows that you are doing?
I'm looking over my shoulder calendar here. In July, we have the Wellness Expo. We'll have a Gypsy Soul Holistic Fair also in July. Then I will be at North Tarrant.
North Tarrant, yep.
North Tarrant in South Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then that's what the calendar has right now. It grows, it moves, it's fluid.
Sure.
Fantastic. Awesome.
Isn't it great that there are too many events to choose from now?
Do you listen? This is a good problem to have. This is a very good
Agreed.
problem to have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Shannon, for joining us. It's just been such a joy to have you, and look forward to seeing you at the shows. And yeah, definitely everybody check out Shannon's website, erthybruja.com. Again, I'll put the link in the show notes in the description. So thank you also, listeners, for joining us. We really do appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Bye.
This has been Spiritual Basics Podcast with April and Jen. Find full episodes on your favorite listening platform or visit spiritualbasicspodcast.com.